Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
I should get some sleep. I should get some sleep.
Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam for the second day in a row. I am joined by the esteemed, the great Terry Foster to my right.
Dude, can I say something?
What's up? Go ahead.
You're still in shock.
You think so?
Yeah, this is Tuesday. The game was Sunday.
Yes.
You're still in a fog.
Oh, you know,
get over it.
We're definitely going to talk about that in a couple of minutes because it is the very first show that we did on Monday was less than 24 hours after the game had completed. So I think emotions were still pretty raw, and for some they probably still are. And JB Smoove, we got him in the TD booth as always. We got Detroit Kool-Aid in the sound booth, and since it is Tuesday, we are joined by the great Matt Broder, Lions insider and member of Woodward Knights.
Great to be here, although under unfortunate circumstances this week.
Oh, yes. And JB, I love that merch sweeper that we did at the beginning. The bigger question to everybody is, what is better, the Noah dice roll or the Chris Platty head nod? Because I think they're both pretty iconic moments in Woodward sports lore.
You're right, but I think I gotta go with the Chris Platty head nod. The smooth just look like that, but they're both pretty good choices though.
No, they most definitely are. And Terry, I'm so glad that you brought up what you did at the beginning, and we saw the verse video was Stewie crying because obviously he cares about the Lions as well. But since it's been a little less raw, it's Tuesday, we had another night to sleep on it. Has this loss been easier to stomach, or are you still just kind of in the I'm never getting over it phase?
Well, I'm the wrong person to ask. I was good as soon as the game was over. Hey, just wasn't your time. But I think in this community, when you monitor people here are so distraught. People are even talking about not watching the Super Bowl because of the Lions' loss. And I have a question for you.
Yes.
All y'all.
Yeah.
Is this one harder to stomach than a typical Lions game where the officials screwed you at the end? Made a call that you said, what the hell was that? What do you mean Calvin Johnson didn't catch the ball?
Right.
What do you mean that was a offsides? So I think this one is tougher to take because at least with the official, you can say, well, the Lions didn't really lose. They got screwed. This one, they're getting their asses kicked in the second half.
Yeah.
Got to remember that.
Well, it's that, of course, and I think it's the stakes. It's the fact that I actually thought at halftime that the Lions were going to go to the Super Bowl. I think we all did. They have at a 17-point lead, but also, and I know we didn't know this at the time, but with the whole thing that happened with the Cowboys game, it really didn't end up costing the Lions at all. I mean, because the Cowboys got upset in the wild card round of the playoffs, the Lions still got their 2 home playoff games. Like, I guess my point is that when it happens in the regular season, there are games that can be played to make up for that. Right now, it's just the season is over. I think we all thought for a long time in that game that we were going to be doing 2 weeks worth of Super Bowl coverage, and now we're not. So yes, it was I don't know if I'll ever get over that one. Obviously, if the Lions can get back next year or the subsequent years and cash one in and win one, yeah, then I'll get over it. But I think until then, it's always going to be that missed opportunity, I would say. JB, are you feeling any better today, or are you still kind of in that phase of being distraught?
No, I'm still upset. I'm still hurting right now. This is still the morning phase, and like, I don't know. I know it's the second day, and we should like literally be over this by now. Maybe it's because we're in sports media, but at the same time, I think it's honestly because we cared a lot about this season and this team, and we just thought this was our chance, and it didn't turn out the way we wanted it to. So yeah, I'm still hurting. Maybe ask me next week. I'll probably be out of this funk, but yeah, it's going to be a rough week for everybody.
You know why? This was the most devastating loss in Detroit sports history.
Yeah.
This trumps Larry Bird stealing the ball from Isaiah Thomas. This trumps Calvin Johnson catching the ball. No, he didn't catch the ball. This trumps the Pettigrew goof that they made against Dallas a few years ago. This was the most devastating loss, and I think the community, the fan base, it's going to take a long time for them to get over this. You may not get over this until the Tigers start 35-5 this season.
Oh, is that what's going to happen?
Yeah.
35-5. You know, I think they have a pretty good chance of actually winning the Central, but we'll get into that more as the offseason rolls along. And I'm going to ask you too, Kool-Aid. Are you feeling better after one more sleep, or are you still kind of just in that mode of feeling, I don't know, distraught?
It's still devastating. I think I'm a little less distraught this morning because, like with Michigan football, we knew that they were a solid program, even though they didn't get it done the couple seasons before they won the national championship. And when looking at this Lions team, and Terry Foster said something pretty profound, in my opinion, on the Woodward and Main Street show, is that this team, we're not talking about an old Amon-Ra, an older Penei Sewell, long in the tooth players. We're talking about a program. This Lions team is set up like a program, and I'm more or less now chomping at the bits to get next year started already. But I still feel it, man. It still hurts, you know. Like you said, it's no more football for the Lions, and they had a good opportunity to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and we're gonna get. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm gonna ask you guys all a question later on in the show that is similar to the one that I posed at the very beginning. We've got Matt Broder here for our next segment. We're gonna go Tuesdays with Matt Broder. I'm gonna save your response until the next segment. We're gonna take calls in the second hour, 313-552-6322. So please flood the phone line as much as you can. I know I really enjoyed that yesterday, and so did you, Terry Foster. I know you.
I think it should be a staple.
Yes,
telling
you had some pretty cool interactions with some of the fans. You were absolute dynamite yesterday, man. But yes, actually, we're gonna go to break right now. And coming back, we have our weekly Tuesdays with Matt Broder segment, and this is the Morning Woodward Show live on the Woodward Sports Network.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Yeah. Because the first one on mine is
Feel alive during Feldman Chevrolet's biggest New Year's sales event ever. Get the best prices on our huge selection of award-winning Chevrolets. Like this 2024 Equinox for $188 per month. Or this 2024 Silverado for $268 per month. It's the New Year's sales event going on now at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
Have you ever wondered where all the finest restaurants get their steaks? It's Fairway Packing Company, providing Michigan restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef for over 60 years. But now you can buy these cuts of meat for yourself at the Steak Shop by Fairway Packing Company. Prime porterhouse, A5 Japanese New York strip steak, dry aged Wagyu beef tomahawk. Delicious. Get to the Steak Shop today. Enjoy fine wine, have a private party, and get the finest cuts of meat anywhere. The Steak Shop on Mack Avenue in Grosse Pointe Woods, or order online, fairwaypacking.com.
What up, Woodward Sports? Dispo Dispensary is bringing you the ultimate experience for the big game in Vegas, and they want you there. You can win 2 tickets to the big game, plus a flight, hotel, and accommodations by following these simple steps. First, follow Dispo.Michigan, @ShowMedicated, and @ShowMedicatedCBD on Instagram. Like Dispo's pinned post, comment and tag someone you love to bring. Plus, if you repost on your story, you get an extra entry. It's that easy. Join the Dispo family for a chance to score in Vegas. The big game awaits. Follow, like, tag, and repost now.
Steve, here he comes. Take that, sir. Behold, a grown man weeping like...
That? That was your plan? Are you crying?
Yes, I'm crying. He hit me with a chair.
I think a 27-0 second half run is very much akin to being hit with a chair. So that's what happened to the Detroit Lions, unfortunately. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show live on the Woodward Sports Network. I'm Flannel Sam. The man to my right, of course, is the esteemed Terry Foster. We got JB Smoove in the TD booth, Detroit Kool-Aid in the sound booth. And joining us, as always, on Tuesday, Lions Insider and one of the members of Woodward and Maine and Woodward Nights. He's everywhere. He's like the Truman Show. Matt Broder, of course.
There's cameras everywhere.
That's brilliant, Sam.
Who has spent more time on camera this year than Matt Broder? But anywho,
he can't even go out in public without getting filmed.
Dude, you must get mobbed everywhere.
I'm a big Jim Carrey fan.
Oh, absolutely.
Paparazzi.
Yeah. Hell of a movie. Hell of a movie. But you know what? I'm going to ask you the same question, Broder, because you've been in the building almost every single day. You went to all the home games, the press conferences, all of that. So I know you're a fan, but you kind of had to be, I wouldn't say impartial at times, but maybe not fanboying at the game. So to you, was this after another night of sleep, after doing your show last night, are you feeling better about the Lions? Well, better is like obviously an objective term, but like, are you feeling better, or are you still just kind of in a despair?
Honestly, I'm better after another night's sleep.
Okay.
It's going to sting for a while. It's going to hurt, but I think the same reason that it's hard to get over, it's hard to taste really what happened on Sunday night is also the same reason that gives me optimism. And that's that all these mistakes and missed opportunities were either outliers from some of the players or they're fixable things, whether it's coaching decisions or the players out there on the field. Josh Reynolds catches those fourth downs, and we're going to talk about him. He catches those 9 out of 10 times, if not 10 out of 10 times. That's not going to happen again. Dan Campbell, this is now another experience he has making big calls and in the biggest moments. Depending on how much he takes from this or adjusts next year, he's going to learn from these situations. So it's horrible. It's horrible to see what happened. 27 unanswered points, but this team is young and this team is hungry. I fully expect them. While the path will be more difficult, I fully expect this team to be right back where they are, if not next year. And they're going to compete each year. If not next year, for the next couple of years, they're going to be in the mix for the top of the NFC.
You know what's going to hit you again?
What?
It's going to hit you again when you're watching the Super Bowl and all the Swifties are going to be there and not Crackman and the Reverend of Roar and all these goofy Lion fans. It's going to hit you then.
You have a point there. I will be watching the Super Bowl. I know there's a lot of people out there
they're not going to watch.
Boycotting the game.
Yeah, I'm not going to be one of those people because after my Lions fandom, my next allegiance goes to Patrick Mahomes, which nobody wants to hear about right now, but I just can't help how I feel. So, Broder, it sounds like to you, and I would agree with this, that you were encouraged by the fact that, the Lions, it wasn't just that they could hang with the 49ers. In the first half, they physically beat the piss out of them. I don't think there's any real hard evidence that the 49ers are miles above the Lions or anything like that. Does that give you some comfort that they will be able to get back and they did hang with the 49ers in that game?
100%. 100%. That team, and I talked about it leading up to the game, I didn't expect them to get bullied. That's just not what a Dan Campbell team is built off of now. That's not what they've been like all season. I definitely thought the 49ers were a more talented team, but the way they came out in the first half, how dominant they were, how efficient the offense was, and how tough and physical the defense was playing, it gave me so much hope. I thought the same thing as you probably thought at halftime, and the same thing that CD Deuce thought midway through the second quarter. It was feeling like that team was really going to assert their place in the NFC this year. But we've thought the 49ers were at the top all season, just to see how the Lions did match up. Although it was only for a half, they were right there. This is a very, very young team, and they were right there hanging with the 49ers until the third quarter.
I think the scary thing, or the thing that should make people distraught, is that San Francisco wasn't the San Francisco team that they were at the beginning of the season. They were a little closer to earth. They had flaws, and you saw them. You could take advantage of them. So the Lions took advantage of them. But I also believe this, that there is crunch time football, and then there's just football. And crunch time football, the Niners were a lot better than the Detroit Lions. So now you need more maturity. You need that pain to get over that in case you're in that situation again. I always believe this. A championship team needs pain, hurt, dirt, all kinds of stuff in the back of their minds or in the back of their craw to be a championship team. Most teams who are on top, we only see them at top. We don't look at them on the way there. A lot of times there was some games or some plays that they really got screwed or they really messed up on, and then you can fall back on that pain when you become a championship team, and that's what's going to happen with the Detroit Lions. Today, you mourn.
Yeah.
In a few years, you may look at this day and say, you know what? This team learned from that. I didn't wish that this would happen, but it did, and it's for the benefit of the Detroit Lions.
I mean, we might look back on the story of this era of the Detroit Lions and just see it as the stepping stone, because like we always say, very rarely does a team just go into the playoffs the first time and win the Super Bowl. It almost never happens. I can't even think of one off of the top of my head. I know the Cincinnati Bengals made it, but they lost and they haven't won since. So you just never know. And Broder, speaking of which, and I know it's tough, especially enduring an NFC Championship game loss and enduring a 27-0 run by the 49ers. What are some of the biggest positive takeaways from this game for you?
For me, Jameson Williams stands out. How he not only came out from the start, the fourth play of the game, the 42-yard end around for the touchdown. What an electric play. Like, I got laughed out of the room a couple months ago, sort of comparing him to Tyreek Hill as his ceiling, as that's the type of potential that his speed brings to the field. We saw that speed on showcase in that first play, but what stood out to me most on that first play was his ability to break the tackle at the end. It wasn't just his speed bursting past everybody. He had to break that tackle. The guy was pulling on his jersey. He was able to get in. From that point to the fourth quarter, I wish they went to him more, but they went back again to him in the fourth quarter for that last minute touchdown. I loved seeing that. You know, Penei Sewell, and I know this wasn't a surprise, but he stuck out to me in this game too. And he's young, so I'm just going to go with it. He was dominant. I mean, on the field with Trent Williams, he was dominant. He was still the best offensive lineman on the field that day. Obviously, there wasn't enough juice in the tank for the team in the second half, but just seeing where he's at this point in the career, there's so much to look forward to.
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to go to the other end of the spectrum. Is there anything that stands out to you more than others as the reason the Lions lost? If you want, you can just say that the third quarter and the fourth quarter was just kind of a comedy of errors, a comedy of things having to go wrong, which they most certainly did. But, Broder, is there anything that stood out to you more than others as to why the Lions didn't win this game?
Yeah, there were so many.
Yeah.
There were so many, so it's hard to pinpoint one. I don't think it was any individual Dan Campbell decision, although those factored into it for sure. But to me, falling on the head coach, you can't. By the NFC Championship game, you got to figure out how to come out of the locker room in the third quarter and do something. Like they have been bad in the third quarter all season long, and it never got addressed, it never got fixed, never got adjusted. So I put a lot of onus on that. And I also think, there were little moments throughout the game where the Lions had opportunities, whether it was the Jack Fox 74-yard punt that Chase Lucas had his foot on the line, on the goal line, so it's a touchback and not pinning them down at the 1 yard line, or Anthony Ferksker stepping out on the 2 yard line right at the end of the game instead of getting in the end zone, which would have given the Lions 25, 30 more seconds of time at the end of the game if 49ers, once they get the ball back, going for it on second down with David Montgomery, running the ball right there at the end. I know these are right at the end of the game, so maybe it didn't factor in so much, but little things like that just started to pile up all game long. You pair that with a big fumble after the 49ers are starting to get momentum. It was everything that could go wrong did go wrong in that second half.
I'll give you 2 words why the Lions didn't win, and these are 2 words people don't use very often. Mental toughness. It's easy to come out and kick somebody's ass at the beginning of the game, but then stuff changes as the game progresses, as it gets older. People get worn down. People get tired. People don't want to do it anymore. And I think for the Lions, it became a tsunami. And their mental toughness wasn't at the level of San Francisco, and it wasn't at the level to get to the Super Bowl. So in this city, and I understand people like to do things simply, they want to point to 2 plays why the Lions lost this game. How about looking at the 35 to 40 plays in the second half where San Francisco was the better team? where San Francisco deserved to win this game. It reached a point where, you look at the game and says, the Niners should win this game. Well, and bam.
I mean, they were favored. And when you really look at it, and this is something that I think we're going to talk about a lot during the offseason, is that right now I think is, like, moving forward, the Lions teams in the future, I think, are actually going to be more talented than the one this year. And the 49ers, I mean, they had 5 All-Pros on offense. The Lions had 4, but they also had a couple of All-Pros on defense, and the Lions certainly did not. So they were the more talented team, and in the second half, when everything started going wrong, the 49ers were able to take advantage. And Broder, you brought up a play that we didn't even discuss yesterday on the Morning Woodward Show. That David Montgomery run, I believe it was on a 3rd and goal after they were already down by 10. I know that the 27-0 run had already happened, and at that point it was still very, very likely that the Lions were going to lose, but that play forced the Lions to take a timeout, and it guaranteed that if you didn't get the onside kick, you were going to lose. The 49ers were able to run the time off because the Lions would have only had 2 timeouts. Is that getting overlooked? Is that actually one of the worst gaffes of the game, or was it just more a product of, like, the 27-0 run already happened? They probably would have lost anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it's the worst in terms of how it affected the game. It was going to be difficult to, come back with under a minute anyway, but I do think it speaks to just the inexperience and the end of game decision-making, time management in big games. Dan Campbell, I believe, has gotten so much better this season, but this is a different stage. This is a different – there's a lot more on the line when we're talking about decisions to go to the Super Bowl. So I think that experience, now that they've been there and now that they've experienced this pain, Dan Campbell is going to learn from this, and he's going to better have a sense of how to make these decisions at the end of the game. But you got to pass it in that situation. You got the players to do it. You can't risk having to call a timeout by getting stuffed with David Montgomery run. It was going to take 5-10 seconds to get everybody up and the line set. So you can't do that. You just can't call that play.
No, you can't. But I get it. He has this supreme confidence in his team. I get it. He feels he has the best offensive line in the National Football League, and they're going to push people back. I get all that. But the other thing is, and I've always gone, the people on the other side, they drive Mercedes too. They drive Bentleys too. So you can't always impose your will on people, and particularly in a situation like that. You got to do what's sensible, and I don't know if the proper word is arrogant or supreme confidence, but I think Dan Campbell thought, I'm going to hand it off, which I shouldn't do, but we're going to walk him to the end zone. That was his mentality, but
they weren't able to do that all second half.
I know. The running game stopped.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he thought it was all of a sudden going to open up for one play.
That should have factored into that decision. Like,
right.
Of course, you think, all right, on the goal line, give it to David Montgomery, but that's just not the way the game was flowing, especially in the second half. They hadn't scored a touchdown up until that point. They didn't until the Jamison Williams catch the very next play.
Yeah, and it's so funny, too, that you bring up, and I don't want to, hash out, because the 27-0 run had already happened. The Ferks are stepping out of bounds, and that's unfortunately, he's a guy that wouldn't have been in the game if Brock Wright wouldn't have went down, or if James Mitchell wouldn't have went down. So there's just a lot of things that happened. But as we already said, the 27-0 run had already happened. At that point, it was very likely that the Lions were going to lose anyway. And Brian Ruth, of course, brings up in the chat, because of course he does. He mentions, not as important as Hutch doing absolutely nothing. And I'll admit, Aiden Hutchinson did not have his best game.
No.
But if we're going to have that perspective about other players and of this team, you also have to have that perspective of, if Aiden Hutchinson didn't play as well as he did against the Rams and the Buccaneers, the Lions wouldn't have gotten there. If he hadn't played as well as he did in the regular season, the Lions certainly wouldn't have had 12 wins. So I get it. There were a lot of factors into why the Lions lost that game. There was a lot of, the Reynolds drops, the Gibbs fumble, the defense as a whole not being able to get any stops in the second half. But it's not just on one player. I mean, the coaching staff deserves some blame. Dan Campbell deserves a slice of the pie. I think Ben Johnson deserves a slice of the pie. But all of these guys, if we want to be doing a perspective show, this season was a rousing success in a lot of ways because of some of these guys. So you can be mad at some of the players all you want, but at some point we're going to have to... do you want Hutch traded then at this point? I get it that's a little bit of an extreme, and I hate to do something like that, but Brian Ruth typed it in all caps, I think, just to get under my skin. I mean, come on, bro.
Definitely. Although the numbers weren't there, I thought he played a pretty good first half. That the two passes that he batted down at the line of scrimmage were massive plays and were what that defense wanted to force Brock Purdy into, keeping him in the pocket, getting pressure on him, and having to throw over that offensive line, throw over pressure coming from the interior. Hutch wasn't able to get home, but he had his hands up and was able to affect two of those plays, which were big in the first half.
But in the second half, Brock Purdy was like, dude, get out of here.
Yeah,
he
scrambled.
Just blew right by him. The other thing, except for the two block passes, Aiden Hutchinson was the only Lions defensive player to not record a tackle or a sack or a thrown for loss. It was zeros all across the way.
No, he didn't play well. I will never try to say that he did play well. It's just that at the defensive end position, and I know that he didn't do other things well as well. You're not always going to get, I mean, he had 8 sacks the previous 4 games. You do realize that's on a pace. If you continue that pace throughout your entire career, you're the best defensive player to ever play NFL football. That just doesn't happen. So you're going to have games where you get shut out. No, he did not play well. I would never try to deny that. I just, I knew this was going to happen. I knew everybody was going to kind of pile on Hutch today, and I think that that's a little bit, he didn't play well, but
he helped get you there.
He is a huge part.
Huge part.
All right, but let me ask you this question. Those 8 sacks in 4 games, did they carry over to the San Francisco game?
No. They don't carry over, but I think you earn some grace if you have one bad game.
But when you look at one game, you only look at what they're doing in that game. And if somebody doesn't do something, I don't care if you're Joe Montana or Barry Sanders, if you have a bad game, you didn't help your team win a game that you really desperately want to win.
Sure. And I wouldn't deny that he didn't play well in that game. If you want to leave it at that, we can leave it at that. Hutchinson had a damn good second year, a damn good playoff run, but he did not play well in the NFC Championship game. It doesn't mean that he shrinks in big games or anything like that, but he did not play well. For the umpteenth time, Aiden Hutchinson did not play well in the NFC Championship game before you call me like a Hutch meat writer or something like that. But anywho, when we come back, we are going to talk about, we're going to have a little bit of a, I don't know if I want to call it an autopsy because that sounds a little bit harsh. I'm going to ask the question, are we going to look back at this season as a rousing success or a missed opportunity? But first, I have to tell you about my golden retriever Jake and my orange cat Milo because I go to Premier Pet Supply. I give my pet the best, and you should give your pet the best as well. Premier Pet Supply is hands down Michigan's best pet store. Same prices and all the conveniences of the online and big box retailers. With one major difference, family and locally owned and operated for 30 plus years. Over 60 brands of food with nutrition experts to help you. Same day, local curbside and home delivery. Premier Pet Supply, give your pet the best. Visit their website at premierpetsupply.com.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
Your home is your most important asset. Flexibility in the sales process is key. When you work with Mark White & Associates, you can cancel at any time, for any reason, without penalty. Speaking of flexibility, check this out. Who you work with matters. Hire the best broker in the game.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids, all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
There it is. R.I.P. to the same old Lions. Big thanks to Sheila, Brad, and Dan for putting them to rest. And guess what else has found the grave? Same old rock, paper, scissors. Jack Labrador has revolutionized that tired game with 2 new symbols and a franchise-changing 3-point play. Discover the action at jacklabrador.gg now and find out why once you go Jack, you never go back. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show, live on the Woodward Sports Network. I'm Flannel Sam. We got Terry Foster. Matt Broder is sticking around for a little while, and I'm so happy to have you here. And, of course, JB Smoove and Detroit Kool-Aid. And I teased this coming out of the break, and we talked about it briefly yesterday, but I just want to get into it a little bit more. And I'm going to start with you, Terry, as somebody who is the most level-headed and experienced the most Lions football out of anybody in the room.
That's dangerous.
When we look back at this season, are we going to consider this a massive success, one of the best seasons in Lions history, or are we going to look back at it as a missed opportunity?
I'm going to look at it more as a massive success because this has been such a garbage organization for decades that when you go to the NFC Championship game and you don't get blown out by 40 points, that's a success. And I understand the pain of this city and the way that game went and everything, but you have to take the 30,000-foot view. The Lions are a big boy now. The Lions are a team that when we talk about who's going to win the 2025 Super Bowl, the Lions are going to be a team that's mentioned. So they have elevated themselves to being a real organization, to being a threat, to being a big boy.
Oh, yeah.
So success.
No, and I can definitely see that side of it. And in the chat, it's kind of mixed. You see Eduardo O'Neill with missed opportunity. Mike G, one of the staples, as well as Eduardo O'Neill, is massive success in all caps. And Lunchbox Hooligans also says success. And Broder, I'm going to go to you. I'm going to ask you the same question. When we look back at the 2023 Lions, are we going to look at it as a massive success or a missed opportunity?
We're going to look at it as a massive success, because we get to look back and we can see that NFC North championship title. We can see that St. Louis Rams playoff win. A lot of firsts happened this year. It is a missed opportunity, though. They did have a chance not only to get to the Super Bowl, and I'm not counting Patrick Mahomes out, but to me, once I learned that the Chiefs won, that was just, a little extra, like, holy smokes, like this could happen. Especially starting that first half the way you did, and to let it slip out of your hands the way it did, it's a missed opportunity. But looking back on the entire season, of course, it's going to be a success.
No, that's an interesting way of looking at it, because I think to some degree it's both. It's just it's going to depend on how you. I mean, I think it also depends a lot on how they respond next year and the subsequent years, but we don't know that quite yet. JB Smoove, I'm going to ask you the same question. Are we going to look back at the season as a missed opportunity or a massive success?
Well, in the words of Neil Rule, both things can be true, which I definitely believe both things are true. It's a massive success in the efforts that, hey, you solely handled this division that we were in like weeks before you had it wrapped up. You went 12-5, which is an amazing improvement, but it also can be a failure at the same time too, because, hey, you caught the entire NFL slipping. You had an opportunity to sit here and go to the big game and just prove everyone wrong. You had that Cinderella story that one team every single year has, and you just couldn't get it done for somehow, some way. So, yeah, both things can be true, and it's going to be a stain on the Lions' history for a while.
Yeah,
you know what, Flynn? I think this is a very personal question. It all depends on your mindset. It all depends on what you thought of the thing. So, I mean, you can ask 500,000 people this question, and you might get a 50-50 split, but it's going to be where you're coming from. I'm coming from the Lions haven't done this in 30 years. I'm coming from the Lions have been an embarrassment for 60 years. So when you get a season like this where you go 12-5, you win 2 playoff games, you get to the NFC Championship game with an opportunity to win it, the pain is there. I get it, but this is a great season.
Yes, and it's and I think that's it's kind of borne out perfectly in the chat, because Marked Royal, again, the real answer is both. It's a massive success and a missed opportunity. And Kevin Bell, who I think still is a little bit shook from the NFC Championship game loss, which is understandable because I am too. Bro, I am so mad. I spent so much money this year on the Lions games, and to get that close. And I understand that, but I hope that you enjoyed the Lions going 6-2 at home in the regular season and 2-0 in the playoffs. I hope that you can at least that's something that you can say as I was at those games. Maybe something you can tell your kids or your grandkids someday. Kool-Aid, before I give my answer, I'm going to go to you as well to round out the room. Is this season going to be looked at as a massive success or a missed opportunity?
I want to say both. In my heart, it's like that. But if I was forced to choose one, I would have to say it's a massive success. If they were playing a team that we thought they were clearly better than, even though I thought they were the better team for at least a half, the 49ers are the number one team in the NFC. They've been there. They've done that. And like you said earlier, TFos, without no pain, no gain. The 49ers have experienced that pain, and that's the edge that I believe they had going up against the Detroit Lions in this NFC Championship. If this was one where I thought they were supposed to be the clear-cut favorites, I would probably pick otherwise. But I think that this season, when you look back on it in totality, it's a massive success.
Yes, and Chuck Brewer, and I think this is an easy answer, but I'm not going to go this route. The real book on this year won't be written until we know the rest of the story, and that is 100% true. It would definitely help if the Lions are able to win an NFC Championship game in the next couple of years and go to the Super Bowl and win it. And I know that I might sound like I'm copping out a little bit, but JB, you kind of gave this answer too. I think it is the extreme version of both. Because the Lions hadn't won a division in over 30 years. They won that. Hadn't won a playoff game in over 30 years. They won 2 at home, including vanquishing the Matthew Stafford-led Rams, who was your quarterback for 12 years. And I hate to play this game, but I actually kind of love it at the same time. If before the season you knew that the Lions would have went 12-5, won their division, won a playoff game against Matthew Stafford, and then won another playoff game, both of them at Ford Field, we would have all taken that deal in a heartbeat. And obviously you saw Amon-Ra St. Brown emerge into even more of a star, first-team All-Pro. Penei Sewell emerge into the best offensive lineman in the NFL by my estimation. I think a lot of your guys' estimation, and the numbers bear that out. You see the rookie class that they had, with Brian Branch being, in my opinion, the second-best rookie DB in the NFL after Devon Witherspoon. You see Jahmyr Gibbs being the best rookie running back in the NFL, and you see Sam Laporta being second-team All-Pro tight end, and oh, by the way, Aiden Hutchinson took that second-year leap as a defensive end as well. And Dan Campbell grew into being an even better coach. He might win Coach of the Year. Ben Johnson, same wizardry type season. I think Aaron Glenn showed a lot. So in a lot of ways, it was a massive, massive, massive success. However,
here we go.
The Lions had a 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game and lost. Those are the type of opportunities that you don't get every single year. And I'm not saying that the Lions won't get back and they won't eventually win one of these. The Lions may never have a 17-point halftime lead in an NFC Championship game ever again. Hell, they may never have a 17-point halftime lead in a playoff game again. And I've got some numbers, and I know a lot of you are going to think these are irrelevant, but I think it's interesting to at least give some perspective. In the last 24 NFC Championship games since 2000, the team has only had a 17-point halftime lead or more 5 times. 5 times. The 49ers, when they beat the Green Bay Packers, they had a 27-point halftime lead, won by 17. The Eagles, when they beat the Vikings, had the same 24-7 halftime lead, won 38-7. The Falcons, this was the one where they played the Packers the year where they lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl. They had a big-time they had a 24-point halftime lead, 144-21. The Panthers, when they beat the Cardinals, that was the Cam Newton MVP season, had the same 24-7 halftime lead, 149-15. And the Giants in 2000 were playing the Vikings, had a 34-0 halftime lead and 141-0. So all of those teams that had that lead ended up winning in blowout fashion. And the Lions, and I get it, they were the underdog. They were going to San Francisco. Not all situations are equal. They had a 17-point halftime lead and ended up losing. The 49ers ended up going up by 10 with 3 minutes left. So I just think that you can't blow 17-point halftime leads. I know me and Neil Rule got into a little bit on Big D Energy where he was just kind of like, oh, so you expected it to be easy? No, I just expect you to hold a 17-point halftime lead. I'm not saying because they had a 17-point halftime lead, they definitely had to win by 30 or something like that, but just win the game. Don't make the same succession of mistakes that they had. It took a lot to go wrong for the Lions to lose that game. And most of it, besides for that bounce off of the face mask of Kindle Vildor, it was the Lions' fault. Josh Reynolds should not have dropped those passes. It's inexcusable. Jahmyr Gibbs should not have fumbled the football. That's inexcusable. The defense, I think, could have done a better job. I mean, they were stopping the run in the first half, and all of a sudden in the second half, they couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop Brock Purdy from scrambling. So, to me, it is the extreme version of both. The best season in Lions history of the Super Bowl era, certainly, but also a massive missed opportunity. You might get the opportunity to play in the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl again, but a 17-point halftime lead in the NFC Championship game, you can't squander that. I'm sorry.
That's true, but brother, if you were a bot with no feelings, no opinions and everything, the easy answer would be both. But I think because we all are different individuals. We all view things differently. We all have our own mindsets, our own biases. It turns into somebody is going to say massive success, and some people are going to say missed opportunity. That's because we bring our feelings into it, and that's why you're going to get somebody to say one or the other. But technically, the answer is both.
Yes.
So it's one of those great questions that we know the answer, but we're all going to have different answers to it based on who we are.
Sure, and Chuck Brewer brings this up, and I touched on it briefly when I was going on my soliloquy. Sam, almost all those big leads that held you listed were at home too, and yes, those they also were the favorites. And I'm not saying that this situation is created equal, and I'm not saying that the Lions should have continued to coast and win the game 41-14 or something like that. It's just, my point was to illustrate how rare having a 17-point halftime lead is. And oh, by the way, in the last 24 NFC Championship games, no team has had a 17-point halftime lead and lost. My point is always, yeah, we all knew that the 49ers were going to punch back. A 17-point lead was given up basically in 8 minutes of game time. That's inexcusable on every single level, and so many things had to go wrong. So many of self-inflicted issues had to go wrong in order for that to happen. And then after that, I think the Lions were just, I'm not going to say that they were shook, but actually they were shook because the Josh Reynolds, the second drop happened when the game was tied. That 3rd and 10 catch, that could have been a 20, 25-yard gain. That could have spearheaded another scoring drive, and Josh Reynolds just couldn't make the play. So at that point, it was a second half meltdown, and I think that was what made it even harder to stomach because we knew as Lions fans that they could play with the 49ers. The 49ers weren't definitively better than the Lions. Were they the better team? Sure, but for an entire half of football, the Lions beat the piss out of them. It wasn't even close. And that's, I think, what stings with it for me. And coming up next, we're going to talk about another reason why we didn't talk about yesterday, which I think was a big factor in why the Lions lost that game in the second half. And it has to do with what they did or didn't do on the offensive side of the football. But first, if the Lions want to get some off-season workouts in, they should definitely go to Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. At Planet Fitness, you will experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full-body workout in just 30 minutes, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all of this for only $10 a month, no commitment. No matter where you are, there is a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Come to Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
A ton of fun, a ton of sports, and a ton of man-meat. Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights, live daily 5 to 7 p.m. on Woodward Sports.
Oh, yeah. Nothing. G-G-G-G-A.
forgot. There we go. Oh, cheers, buddy. I think we need to get you a pick.
For over 60 years, Fairway Packing has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today. Visit the steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods for grab-and-go steaks or order online at fairwaypacking.com. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show, live on the Woodward Sports Network, and it's still a couple days after the game. I want to go over some more things that I took away from the game and some things that I think were instrumental and why the Lions lost, unfortunately. And something that we haven't talked about enough, I know, Terry, you touched on it briefly yesterday, and you also brought it up in the context that Ben Johnson deserves some criticism, which he most certainly does, is the Lions in the first half against the San Francisco 49ers, they ran for 148 yards and 3 touchdowns. The craziest stat of that first half is that David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jamison Williams all had more individual rushing yards than Christian McCaffrey did at halftime. And at the end of the game, Christian McCaffrey had more rushing yards than all 3 of those guys, at least individually. But in the first half, they were running it up and down their throats, and they obviously had that big play to Jamison Williams on that end around. But in the second half, it was a different story, and for whatever reason, and I know it's easy to just say they abandoned the run, it was a bad idea, although I think that is the case. They only had 34 rushing yards in the second half, a second half in which they came out with a 17-point lead, a second half in which the Lions' first possession, they still had a 14-point lead. So Terry Foster, was that a mistake of the Lions to abandon the running game? And does Ben Johnson deserve some criticism for his second half play calling?
I don't think it was a mistake to abandon the run because they weren't running. The plays that were, you run the football consistently when you have success. When you keep feeding the rock to your running backs and they're going nowhere and you're facing 2nd and 9 or 3rd and 8 or something, you got to do something else. My problem is, why weren't you targeting St. Brown? Okay? Jamison Williams, dangerous guy. We saw what he can do early in the game. Why didn't you at least try that one more time? Why not another end around? Yes, they've seen it before, but this guy's speed is so great that, at the very least, he would get 8-9 yards. Maybe he wouldn't take it to the house, but I go by this philosophy. If something works, do it again.
That is
at some point.
Yeah, that is one of the most interesting things. And I always wonder why coaches don't do that. And obviously, I'm not an offensive coordinator. I don't have Ben Johnson has forgotten more about offensive schemes than I will ever know, than 3 of me will ever know. But at the same time, that end around to Jamison Williams, it was the first touchdown of the game. And I think that it would be something that even though the 49ers saw it and they saw that it could happen, I would have liked to see the Lions try it one more time. So what if it loses 5 yards? Then you can throw that play in the trash for the rest of the game. But you saw an end around it worked earlier in the season against the New Orleans Saints, and maybe it wouldn't have gone for a touchdown, but maybe Jamison Williams would have even gotten, been able to get the edge and get 5-7 yards before he got out of bounds at the very least. And Terry, you also brought up, and I'm going to get Broder's opinion on this, that it wasn't so much that they abandoned the run, it's just they couldn't run it as well. So Broder, do you think, A, that they did abandon the run, and B, that it was a mistake, and do you blame Ben Johnson at all for that?
Yes, and yes.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. San Francisco came out of the break and did make adjustments. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, that defense, that front 7 really did impact the run game and shut it down, especially on that first drive. But then after that, they did abandon it. They weren't able to get the type of runs or passes, completions on 1st and 2nd down, and all in that second half to set up those shorter 3rd and 4th downs, except for the ones that they went for unsuccessfully. So, yeah, you got to find a way with the weakness. The blueprint was there in the first half. Yeah. When you run the ball in any way, you're going to have success, and they went away from that. Whether they could or they couldn't, they didn't try to force it down their throat with David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs. To me, as offensive coordinator, you just got to find a way. You got to find a way to get the ball into the hands of your running backs or Amon-Ra St. Brown. The fact that you couldn't do both is no bueno.
But here's another thing. when you're calling a play you think is going to work. Mm-hmm. Ben Johnson probably, in his defense, is probably looking at, okay, Ben Johnson up the middle is not going to work. Jahmyr Gibbs, a end around is not going to work. So you call something else because, once again, two teams are playing in this, and the other team had figured out your running game and it shut it down. And when you look at the Lions' running game the last half of the season and through the playoffs, it wasn't as great as it was earlier.
Right.
People figure stuff out, and maybe this is a dangerous thing. Have people figured out this offensive line? Have they figured out Gibbs and Montgomery to a certain extent? Are they going to be able to run the football the same way they did early this season next season? That's going to be a big thing to look out for.
The funny thing, though, is that when you look at the running stats for the Lions overall this game, 29 carries for 182 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6.3 yards per carry. That is objectively an excellent game running the football. And you think if you would have been told, if we all would have been told that was the way the Lions were going to run the football, we're winning this game. We are certainly winning this game, but there's also a lot of context to it that the vast, vast, vast majority of it came in the first half. And the one thing I will say is when the Lions got the ball back after the 49ers had cut the field goal to cut the lead to 14, it was 24-10. David Montgomery on that drive did carry the ball 3 times for 18 yards. He was effective, at least in that first drive. The thing that was a little bit puzzling to me was on that 3rd and 4, before the 4th down drop by Josh Reynolds. And you're talking about them not targeting Amon-Ra St. Brown, but they hand the ball to him in the backfield. And I get it. It's easy to say that he is a hell of a playmaker and what he did after the catch can maybe be translated into the backfield. But you got David Montgomery out there who, on that drive, had been running for 6 yards a carry. You have Jahmyr Gibbs, who had earlier in the game picked up a big 3rd and 12 run and then had a 15-yard touchdown run. I thought that was an odd play call. And I think on 4th and 2, and the thing I always say about this, and I get it, Josh Reynolds should have caught that ball. He catches that ball 9 times out of 10. Josh Reynolds had been very reliable throughout the year. But I might have tried to run it on 4th and 2 with David Montgomery because, as John Madden once said, when you throw the football, 3 things can happen and 2 of them are bad. There is a human error element of dropping a pass. And oh, by the way, it was a very, very good throw, but it was maybe a little bit tougher of a catch than maybe it was a tougher catch than the 3rd and 10 later, but Josh Reynolds still should have made that play. So to me, that was bad. And then obviously on the next drive, Jahmyr Gibbs, for his only carry of the second half, by the way, fumbles. And who knows what they would have done on that drive if Jahmyr Gibbs just held onto the football and maybe they picked up a couple of first downs. But
by the way, John Madden is wrong.
What's up?
There's another good thing that passing can do.
What is that?
It can open up the running game.
That's fair.
Right. I mean, if you're passing, then linebackers have to drop back, and then safeties have to get into cover too, and that can open up your running game. So John Madden, I know you love him, and he's got his own game, but he's wrong on that one.
But, I mean, I think he's referring to, and you're 100% right, but he's referring to when the ball goes in the air. It can either be complete, intercepted, or incomplete. And Josh Reynolds, he just dropped the ball. And that's why, with the running game being so reliable, I think it would have been the better option to run it on 4th down. And I get it, the play call was right. Josh Reynolds just didn't execute.
Bro, you know who else used to say that?
Who?
Before John Madden?
Who?
Bo Schembechler. He used to say that all the time because him and Woody Hayes, they didn't want to throw the ball. So they always said, well, if you pass, 1 of 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad.
Yeah.
They used to say that all the time.
Hey, and Chuck Brewer actually brings up a good point. Another thing can happen that is good. PI and an auto first down. So maybe just to send J-Mo deep and underthrow him because you almost always get that call. But the reality is that in the first half, Jahmyr Gibbs had 11 carries for 46 yards. In the second half, he had 1 carry for -1 and a fumble. And I get it. I get it that when you're a rookie, no matter how great you are as a rookie, and you fumble the football in the playoffs, which directly leads to an easy scoring touchdown drive for the 49ers, the trust might be a little bit broken. I mean, like you said, they didn't try running that play again with Jamison Williams. And David Montgomery, on a per carry basis, was still effective in the second half. In the first half, he had 9 carries. In the second half, he had 6. So to me, I would have continued to run the ball a little bit more. I know a lot of it isn't as easy because, as I mentioned on the second drive, Jahmyr Gibbs just fumbled on the first play of the drive. But even in the next one, after the 49ers had tied the game, they ran the ball to David Montgomery for a yard. That's an example where you're right, where it just didn't work. And on the next 2 plays, Sam Laporta dropped a pass and Josh Reynolds dropped a pass. Maybe it wasn't. it's not as simple as they abandoned the run as just so many things went wrong and there's almost nothing the Lions could do to stop it because the pass plays were there. The receivers just didn't step up. It's kind of staggering in a context-free stat in which in the first half the Lions rushed for 148 yards and 3 touchdowns. In the second half when they were coming out with a 17-point lead, they only had 34 rushing yards total. It's a little bit jarring. I think they abandoned it a little bit more than they should have, but at the same time, it was just that second half, as hokey as this might sound, it just maybe just wasn't meant to be. Like once they lost momentum, it was an avalanche from there.
You know, it's funny.
Yeah.
Before the game, even and during the first half, I thought this is the Lions' time.
Sure.
As I'm watching the second half, I'm saying this is not the Lions' time. I really thought this was their moment. They were going to do it. This was before they got off to the big lead in the first half. I just thought going into it, it's always a team's time, and you could kind of see that. And I thought that's what I was seeing with the Detroit Lions, and all that switched in the second half.
Oh, I mean, it most certainly did. And we talked about it on a previous show, that there just seems to be when you're a championship team, you're going to get some breaks. I mean, we saw in the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jared Goff threw what should have been a terrible end zone interception, but Jamel Dean just dropped it. And those are the type of plays where if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you're the underdog. I get it. They held the Lions out of the end zone on that drive, but you got to make that play. Those are the splash plays that you make. And then with the Lions, it just seemed like it was their time, but in the second half, it was very much the opposite. It was just an avalanche. It was a disaster in so many ways. And Shift God brings this up. If Reynolds catches the ball, we'd be up 27-7, or I think he meant to 10. But they would have maybe even scored a touchdown on that drive, or at least had an opportunity to take more time off of the clock and kick a field goal. But coming up next, it's funny that you guys mentioned Josh Reynolds, because Josh Reynolds is a free agent. Is that the type of meltdown in a game that makes you maybe not want to re-sign him? Or do you look at the totality of what he's done this year and say that he's an important piece that Jared Goff obviously has some rapport with, and maybe they should re-sign for next season? But first, I have to tell you about Swiss Insurance. Do you have football on the brain? Of course you do. We're still kind of hurting over the Lions loss, but us Michigan fans are at least halfway happy. But for all of you who are experiencing this football season, you should shop. It's the perfect time to shop your home and auto insurance. Shop it like a pro with Swiss Insurance. They cover Woodward Sports Network, and they should be covering you too. Ask for Mark at Swiss Insurance today at swissins.com or call 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy? It's Planet Fitness. Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
What up, Woodward Sports? Dispo Dispensary is bringing you the ultimate experience for the big game in Vegas, and they want you there. You can win 2 tickets to the big game, plus a flight, hotel, and accommodations by following these simple steps. First, follow dispo.michigan, @ChillMedicated, and @ChillMedicatedCBD on Instagram. Like Dispo's pinned post, comment and tag someone you love to bring. Plus, if you repost on your story, you get an extra entry. It's that easy. Join the Dispo family for a chance to score in Vegas. The big game awaits. Follow, like, tag, and repost now.
Hey, are you tired of wearing that same old Detroit sports merch? Well, it is a new era in sports wearables with new designs, amazing apparel, and the ultimate swag. Check out Woodward Sports' latest gear at woodwardsports.com. Click on that shop tab. We got amazing designs up there. Get prepared for next season. Or hey, you know what? We even have some Pistons gear out there if you're still riding with the Pistons. Trust me. I know, we know the struggles, but we still have them as well too. So go to woodwardsports.com/shop. Check them out.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show live on the Woodward Sports Network. And after this segment at about 9:15, 9:20-ish, we're going to take some phone calls. So the phone number, 313-552-6322. If we didn't get to you yesterday, feel free to call in again. Battle it out with Terry Foster if you feel brave enough to do so. Because, man, you were absolutely dynamite yesterday on the calls, Terry. And I'm glad that we have an opportunity to take them again. So flood the phone lines. And Kool-Aid, I appreciate you as always for being the Swiss Army knife of the of the sound booth, because as JB Smoove and I know, it is not an easy job to do both, but you are phenomenal at it, Kool-Aid. But
appreciate you, brother.
I want to ask the question that I posed before break, and I want to go around the room on this one. And Paul Thomas in the chat, lots of good perspectives in the chat today. Absolutely, thank you guys for participating and continuing to support the show and the network, even through some tumultuous times. I will never forget that, by the way. And I'm going to go to you first, TFos. Did Josh Reynolds' choke job in the NFC Championship game, is that enough to where you don't want to re-sign him because he is a free agent?
I think I'm going to look at the money. If he wants a lot of money, then absolutely not.
Fair.
But you have to take the emotion out of this game. Is Josh Reynolds going to help you during the regular season? Do you have confidence that he's going to catch the same ball against the Chicago Bears in week 5 or whatever it's going to be? Because to get to this position next year, you still have to play the regular season. You probably have to win the division. So you can't
on Josh Reynolds hour. But if you want to point to one individual that was near the top of being the most responsible, I would probably say Josh Reynolds is near the top of that list, because his drops directly affected the Lions not converting on a 4th down and then not converting on a 3rd and long, both of which would have been conversions. Both of those drives, I believe in my heart of hearts, certainly the 4th down one would have resulted in points and the Lions winning that game. But anywho, JB Smoove, does that type of performance in an NFC Championship game, let's just call it what it is, Josh Reynolds choked, is that the type of performance that makes you not want to bring him back because he is a free agent?
I mean, if you're basing it off of just that one performance in this game, then obviously, no, you're not going to bring him back. But if you look at the whole season as a whole, then yeah, you're obviously going to bring him back. I feel like he and Jared Goff are extremely comfortable with each other, especially given their time in LA previously. But also, I agree with Terry as well, too. I think the money is going to be a huge factor as well. I don't think he's going to ask for a lot just to return, maybe 4 or 5 mil, if anything like that. And obviously, you're going to take that. I mean, it's a quality receiver. He's not asking for a ton, but I would be looking for either someone in the draft, another wide receiver, or if you're going to go out there and get a real veteran presence that isn't going to cost you a ton as well, too. So that's something that you got to look out for. Is the money right? And also, can we pick up someone else as well, too?
All right, let me be more specific with you. If he's demanding $7 million a year,
nope.
Do you sign him?
Nope, not doing it.
Okay.
That's an interesting number, because to me that's right about on the borderline of like over under 7.5 or something like that. But JB, I appreciate your perspective, and I'm mostly with you on that you have to take the totality of everything into account. You can't just look at the last game. But Matt Broder, I'm going to go to you next. Is Josh Reynolds, does that performance in the NFC Championship game, that those blunders, those terrible drops, is that the type of thing that makes you not want to bring him back for next season?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I think he's a great piece, especially if you're considering Jameson Williams as your clear number 2 receiver next year. Josh Reynolds is your 3 or your 4. I like that role for him. That's and recency bias aside, that's a reliable receiver. And someone Jared Goff trusts in big moments. He came up with huge catches all season long. He was a first down machine. This is a tough one. Those 2 catches, those 2 drops in the NFC Championship were tough. But I haven't lost confidence in him. He's beating himself up way more than we all are, too. I just think he's got a great relationship with Jared Goff. He'd be a great 3 or 4 next year.
Broder,
see, that's the big thing. Relationship. Yeah. It might take 2-3 years for a quarterback and a wide receiver to have a relationship. Jared Goff and J-Mo don't have a relationship. Now, when they get one, Jameson is going to be a lot better. So now you're going to have to bring in a rookie or a free agent who's going to have that offseason with Jared Goff, who's going to have those little private meetings with Jared Goff. Do they click? That's a big part of the receiver quarterback relationship that we don't see. It's not just going out there calling plays and hitting somebody. It's like we're in the park for 2 months, 3 months together. Maybe we take a trip to Hawaii. Maybe we go to Florida or something. But we're developing not just pass plays, but we're having beers together. We're having lunch together. We're doing all this kind of stuff. I know where you want to be. I know where you want the ball. And so that makes that relationship tighter. And you run the risk, if you bring somebody else in, of that not meshing right away next season. And next season is Super Bowl or bust, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely it is. And the funny thing about Josh Reynolds, too, is the only quarterback, for all intents and purposes, it's not literally true, but for all intents and purposes, it's true. Jared Goff has been the only quarterback that Josh Reynolds has played with. It's certainly the only quarterback that Josh Reynolds has had any success with, starting with Los Angeles, and then when he was brought in the middle of 2021 with Detroit. And Kool-Aid, I know that you're taking calls. I'm not skipping you. I definitely want your perspective. I just know that you're busy, so it's definitely hard to be on air and take calls. So I will go next with this one. Broder, I think that you almost took the words directly out of my mouth because
well, thank you.
When it comes to Josh Reynolds, I will admit, when it comes to Josh Reynolds specifically, I needed a day because I was mad. Both things can be true. Josh Reynolds was an extremely valuable member of this team this year, and I think you can get him for cheap, and he can be a very extremely valuable member of the team next year. But also, I think his 2 drops directly cost the Lions, among other things, a chance to go to the Super Bowl. So it's obviously you're going to be a little bit upset for a while. But Josh Reynolds, another thing about him is that he was 3rd on your team in receiving yards this year in the regular season. He was also 3rd on the team in receiving yards in the postseason, including 80 yards against the Rams and the first touchdown of the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He has a relationship with Jared Goff. And oh, by the way, in the very beginning of the year, much of these games when Jameson Williams was out, in his first 5 games, 19 receptions, 341 yards, 3 touchdowns. And I believe it was either all or all but one of his first 19 catches either went for first downs or touchdowns. Nobody came up with more big plays in the first, I would say, quarter of the season than Josh Reynolds. He was an absolute dynamo. His numbers dipped a bit in the middle of the year and towards the end of the year, but Josh Reynolds was certainly very, very valuable. And if you look at next season, if Josh Reynolds can be your 4th option catching the football, with hopefully Jameson Williams playing a full season and being the clear number 2, Sam Laporta being the best tight end in the NFL next year, Josh Reynolds as a 4th option is about as good as it gets, honestly. And you can't just take these drops and look at that as the man is done, the man doesn't want the big moment, and we should ship him out of town. I think Josh Reynolds is somebody that you can get for cheap. I think he's one that, and it's funny that you mentioned that after his biggest gaffe of his career in the NFC Championship game. Other than that, he's as reliable as they come.
Yeah.
I think he is somebody that for cheap, someone who has a relationship with Jared Goff, somebody who has put up very, very good numbers with Jared Goff. He is somebody that you need to re-sign for next season. Take the emotion out of it and just get it done. For, you say $7 million a year, I would probably prefer a little bit less, but
you can't always get what you want.
I know you can't always get what you want. Obviously, I'm not paying Josh Reynolds the bag or anything like that. But I think for a 4th option as a pass catcher, you can't get much better than Josh Reynolds, regardless of the NFC Championship game blunders. And that's obviously what you need to take into account when it comes to Josh Reynolds. Take the emotion out of it. And Kool-Aid, actually, yes, I do want to get to you because I felt bad skipping you. That's not something that I like to do. Josh Reynolds, is he somebody that you re-sign for next year, or are you looking at it as, man, I'm so mad at this guy for dropping those 2 passes in the NFC Championship game. Get him the hell out of here.
You know what? Like the day of, it's like, nah, get him the heck out of here. But when you look at the situation, when you look at the lack of targets to Amon-Ra St. Brown in that second half, you almost realize he was playing in a position that he probably shouldn't have been playing with that amount of responsibility. Has he been reliable? Yes. But he should have been the 3rd, 4th receiver on this team. I don't want him in the positions that I believe Amon-Ra St. Brown should be getting. Just kind of forthright. I believe that moment was probably a little bit too big for him. Now, as it relates to his relationship with Jared Goff, as it relates to his overall reliability the entire rest of the season, yeah, for the right deal, I say bring him on back. You don't want to be in a situation where guys who now are getting this taste of kind of success and heartbreak, those guys that are starting to get that kind of pain, that you're getting rid of those guys for players who might not quite understand the moment. Now I believe he understands even more so how big of a moment this is, and if the Lions do get back, and their path to getting back, I do believe is helped by having more positive players on the squad who understand what this is all about.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And for the record, if you guys didn't hear the beginning of the segment, the only reason I'm asking this is because Josh Reynolds is a free agent, and there is going to have to be a decision made about him. The Lions also have a lot of cap space, and yeah, sometimes you have to fail in the biggest moments to get back and succeed later. And Lloyd Ostrander, not all targets are catchable. Well, unfortunately, the ones that Josh Reynolds dropped were the definition of catchable. I know you weren't necessarily talking about that, but those were just terrible drops. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And Lorenzo Peterson, I'm curious to get your take on this, Broder. Boy, did we miss Raymond, as in Khalif Raymond.
Yeah, and I actually just responded to that. I would 100% agree, but I can't pinpoint where in the game like he would have made his difference, because his plays sort of just come out of nowhere. He always, when you least expect it, it's a 20, 30, 35 yard end around or a nice little creative route tree that he runs and Jared Goff finds him. So I don't know exactly, but I do feel like he would have made a difference. It's just a feeling.
Yeah, no, and I would tend to agree because there's only one ball. I mean, I know that's a cliche, but
it's true.
I don't know if Khalif Raymond would have been the difference in them winning the game. And just so Lloyd Ostrander doesn't think I'm slandering him. No, I wasn't talking about Josh at all.
Can I say something mean, young man?
Yes.
4th and 2, right?
Yes.
Why not target a guy named St. Brown?
That was my point.
That's a great point. I guess the one thing that I will say, and this is it, is that Josh Reynolds. No, I mean, obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta are your two best pass-catching targets by far. But Josh Reynolds made a lot of big plays throughout the year. I do agree that it should have gone to Amon-Ra St. Brown.
But it's a guy that you've ignored.
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me.
I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown is as reliable as they come. I said after the Rams, after that first down to seal the game against the Rams, that the most reliable pass play in all of the NFL, the entire NFL, is that 8 to, I would say, 12-yarder to Amon-Ra St. Brown, because it's always going to be caught no matter what. So, Terry, I don't hate it. And then on that 3rd and 10 that Josh Reynolds dropped as well, if it goes to St. Brown, even though St. Brown had dropped a pass against the Buccaneers, you'd feel pretty good about. You can't, if you throw it to Amon-Ra St. Brown, you can't have the questions of, why'd you throw it to that guy? Well, because of course you did, because it's Amon-Ra. Because it's Josh Reynolds, it's a fair question to ask, why the hell did you throw it to Josh Reynolds? Because I just got done a little while ago talking about how great he was in the first 5 games of the year. His numbers really, really tapered off, even though I still thought he was valuable. He wasn't as big a part of the offense. So I get it. And Chuck Brewer, was St. Brown open? That's my question. Was it play calling?
He's always open.
And that's fair. Or did the defense take him out of the game plan? I mean, I guess that's the $1 million question.
You can't allow that to happen, man. You can't allow that to happen. This is the biggest moment. Your biggest players, get them open.
Right.
Period, man. Get them open. Scheme them. Do something different.
Right.
Even if you have to do an end around to just get the ball into a playmaker's hands like Amon-Ra St. Brown, do something to make sure you fail.
You know who
live or die
schemed
with your best
St.
players.
Brown? The Los Angeles Rams on that 3rd down play schemed St. Brown. Still caught it, right?
No,
so if you are a genius offensive coordinator, you're right. You can scheme a play to get him open. They can't shut everybody down.
No, most certainly can. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of those guys that's always open. And Broder, I'm not going to say it now, but the last thing that you typed in the chat.
Yeah, how crazy is that?
That is more on that tomorrow.
Okay.
Because there's a certain guy on this roster that I don't want taking a single snap away from Mr. Brian Branch. But we'll get into it more tomorrow.
Are you on the mound, Terry?
I am not.
Oh, okay, that's Terry's guy, Brian Branch.
Hey,
you'll talk about him tomorrow.
How could you not? You know what? Next time you're here, I will get your perspective on it as well. But because I know, Terry, you like taking phone calls as well. And then when we come back, we are going to take your phone calls. Whatever you want to talk about Lions related, whether it's your takeaways for the game, whether it's responding to stuff that we said today. I cannot wait to hear from the people. But first, I got to tell you about Big Boy. Wintertime in Detroit is always better with comfort foods from Big Boy. Try the veal parmigiana or the new Southern Comfort Chicken Bowl. How about breakfast? The stuffed potato pancakes are back. The classic lumberjack or Santa Fe Garde. Also new apple pie hotcakes that are too good to miss. Top it all off with the new gingerbread shake for dessert. Stop by your local Big Boy today.
Savor the heart of home at Big Boy with our all-new down-home comfort dishes. Feast on home-style goodness with our Southern Comfort Chicken Bowl, veal parmigiana, and apple pie hotcakes. The down-home delight doesn't stop there. Potato pancakes are back. Dive into the richness of our perfectly crafted potatoes with our classic potato pancakes and our stuffed potato pancakes. Top off your meal with our new gingerbread shake, a seamless blend of creamy vanilla and sweet gingerbread flavors. Nothing beats the comforting taste of down-home cooking. Enjoy every bite, only at Big Boy.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles. And with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
Diamonds, it's Crystal with an X. You want to get hot and perfect like me? Here's my super easy routine. Drink at least a gallon of water before you wake up. Attach a weight to everything in your house. Hello? Sell your car and just sprint everywhere. Scream when you exhale.
Don't follow Crystal with an X. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join now for just $10 a month and cancel anytime.
Game is won in the trenches, and our big fellas don't mess around. The Woodward Heavyweights on Woodward Sports.
What?
Oh, yeah. Nothing. G-G-G-G-A. Oh, sorry. I forgot. There we go. Oh, cheers, buddy. I think we need to get you a pick.
Feldman Chevrolet, Detroit's #1 Chevy dealer. With 18 locations, there's a Feldman dealership in your backyard. Visit feldmanauto.com to find the location nearest you. Since 1996, Feldman Automotive has been driven to provide a fast, convenient, and first-class car buying experience called the Feldman Advantage. Catch Woodward Sports Network live from Feldman Chevrolet of Novi every other Monday. You know, JB, you brought up Crystal with an X.
I had to bring it back. I just had to, just one time.
Oh, it was a blast from the past. No, okay. But anywho, let me get back on track. And now we go to the people, because we want to hear your perspective on anything Lions, anything we talked about today, your own takeaways. So give us a call, 313-552-6322. It is pinned in the chat. Thank you, JB and Kool-Aid, for doing that. Kool-Aid, who do we have on?
We have Matt from Harrison Township.
Matt, how's it going, man? How you feeling this Tuesday, removed from the Sunday's loss in the NFC Championship game?
Well, I do feel a lot better than yesterday, that's for sure. It is hard, when you see your team go to the NFC Championship and lose, but I have 2 quick observations about the season I want to make, if you'll let me. The first one is, it's easily the best season of Lions football I've ever watched. I mean, that's not even in contention, so I'm happy with it. And the second is, Terry, I think you touched on this earlier, most games, the second half, they just struggled. And so what do you think that is? Do you think that's like a mental thing? Do you think they get too far, in their heads, once they go into halftime, or what?
That's the million-dollar question, because a lot of times they have struggled in the third quarter of these games. I mean, you look at, and I saw this mentioned actually on 97.1 yesterday, that this game against the San Francisco 49ers was similar in a lot of ways to the game that the Lions won at New Orleans, where they got off to a big lead. I think they started off 21-0, and then the final three quarters they were outscored 28-12. Fortunately, they were able to win that game, but yeah, the third quarter is certainly something that needs to be addressed. Ben Johnson's play, it almost seems like Ben Johnson that sometimes turns into, I would say, bizarro world Ben Johnson, and forgets how to call plays. And I'm not slandering him. He's obviously been great for the Lions. But yeah, the third quarter, it was, out of all the third quarters in which the Lions have been bad, they saved the NFC Championship game for it to be the worst of them all. So yeah, that's certainly an observation about how the third quarters have just not been great for the Lions.
Yeah, I wonder if they're drinking beers at halftime or something.
Maybe it's coaching. It's tough. I mean, I'll go to Broder. I mean, what do you think about the Lions? Like, I would say lack of competency sometimes in third quarters.
I can't figure it out. And just let me know if I'm muted. Are you able to hear me in your earpiece?
No.
Gotcha.
No, that's all right.
I think Terry might not. Were you able to hear the last call?
No.
Too? All right, so Herb Nash, we're figuring it out. We'll get that all taken care of.
No, I heard the call, but yeah, no, third quarters are they've been a problem for the Lions. You have any other observations? I know you said you had a couple.
Oh, well, the first one that I touched on, which is it's been the best season,
and it relaxes the fellas a little bit too much.
Yeah, no. Yeah. It's most certainly been the best season in the Super Bowl era when it comes to the Detroit Lions, and that's the I would say something that as more time goes along that we're going to appreciate a little bit more. I know that it's been, the emotions are raw when it comes to losing in the NFC Championship game in such a heartbreaking fashion, but as I said at the beginning of the show, if before the season you were guaranteed a division title, 2 home playoff wins, one of them being against the Matthew Stafford-led Los Angeles Rams, you would have taken that any day of the week. For this particular season, that was the goal. For next year, it's Super Bowl or bust. But for this season, no matter what happened in the NFC Championship game, it was a success, a rousing success. Can't deny it.
No, 100%. Next year, Detroit's bringing the Stanley Cup and the Lombardi Trophy home.
Hey,
it's not even close.
I don't hate that, because the Red Wings are doing pretty well themselves, at least as of late. Thank you so much for the call. I really appreciate it.
But you know what?
Thank you, guys.
If you can't figure out the third quarter, you're not going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You're not going to the NFC Championship game. But there's something wrong in the brew, because this isn't the first time this happened. It seems every game. That means there is something wrong with this team.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with their halftime. There's something wrong with the way that they come out. Because at the beginning of the game, they come out like gangbusters.
Yeah. No, they physically beat the piss out of the San Francisco 49ers in the first half, and I will always remember that first half fondly. But thank you again, Matt. And Kool-Aid, it sounded like you were talking to somebody else. Who else do we have?
Oh yeah, man. The phone lines now are jacked. So,
nice.
We have DJ from Pontiac.
DJ from Pontiac.
And I can hear you, DJ. What's up?
Hey, yeah, what's up?
What up, though, fellas? How y'all doing?
Good, man. How about yourself?
I'm in tip-top condition.
I'm better today than I was yesterday.
Sure.
I'll start off by saying that. But with that being said, it's now 2 days after the NFC Championship game, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. As pissed off as I was about the game and how I was ready to punch a couple people in the mouth for talking shit just because the loss hurt that bad, I'm going to be honest. I'm very optimistic about the Lions, man. And yeah, it sucks. It hurts. I know that there's a good percentage of the fan base out there that probably wants Dan Campbell's head, but listen, given all the circumstances, it is what it is. The Lions as a team didn't execute. Move on. Yep. I think that this off season will be very, very telling on if the Lions are really serious about building from this year and beyond, because honestly I feel like the difference between this Lions team or compared to some of the other Lions teams that we've had in the past is that we have a legit young core, we have a legit front office and we have a legit coach to be able to compete with some of the other top dogs. Now, the Detroit Lions are officially contenders in the NFC. We're not the little boys anymore of the conference. We're not the little boys of the division. We're not the laughing stock of the league anymore. The Detroit Lions are legitimate contenders. So what I want to see, and specifically from Brad Holmes, is, given the pending departures of possibly both of our coordinators, I want to see I want to see who they're going to bring in as the successors for Aaron Glenn or Ben Johnson. I want to see what type of players that they bring in. I don't want them to just go for just any talented player out there like the previous Lions regimes in that front office have done. I want them to legitimately bring in guys that, for one, are smart, that are mentally strong just as they are physically strong, that understands situational football, that understands the moment, and that are able to, withstand all of the challenges that are going to come the Detroit Lions' way next season. Those are the type of guys that I want to bring in. No more of these, this is what I can do on tape, or this is what I've had going, and I don't I don't want guys that are good just off reputation. I want guys that go out there and prove it every single week, every single game, and that pays attention to every single detail. Those are the type of players that we need moving forward.
All right, but let me tell you this. You just said you don't want them to bring on somebody in just because of what they do on tape. But what you're kind of saying is you're willing to forego talent for someone who might fit the character of this team a little bit more. You can do that, and that's what they've done, but you got to be careful. If there's somebody out there that's really talented, and if they are a jerk or they don't fit in, you still have to take them sometimes.
You're right.
So you got to be careful with that.
I think depending on no. I'll concede to that. You do have a fair point, because look, at the end of the day, if guys can go out there and get the job done, or they're talented enough to go out there and get the job done, like if we can bring in a true number one corner that no matter what the receiver is, you're going to give that man problems, by all means, bring that player in. Or if you're going to bring in a receiver that is a problem for any defense, no matter what, whatever their background or whatever history they may have, by all means, bring them in. Like, look, I want guys that will get the job done, but I just don't want them to settle, for bringing in guys that put me before we, and ultimately sacrifice everything that the Lions are building.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. I think there's a lot there. I think we would all agree that I think subsequent Lions teams next year, the year after, they should be more talented on paper with another Brad Holmes draft, another one after that, and then a lot of cap space. And we will see. The number one corner is certainly something that the Lions have to address.
I would ask the question. Yeah. This is what Brad Holmes has done from day one. Why would he stop now?
It's worked. They've had a phenomenal turnaround.
You're right.
Yeah, They've had a phenomenal turnaround.
You're absolutely right. I got faith. That's ultimately why I have faith. Because of what Brad Holmes has done thus far.
Right.
And I think that will only continue.
Yeah, but and on the other hand, the Lion GMs before this, they would just look at individual players and say, okay, this is the guy I think that's best at this position, or I think this is the next best player. Brad Holmes has a game plan. He builds units. He builds character. He builds a lot of different things that other GMs didn't think about.
Yeah. No, 100%. DJ, thank you so much for the call, man. I hope that you can be as optimistic about the Lions as the offseason continues to play out, as the loss becomes farther and farther in the rear view. Kool-Aid, who do we got next?
Yeah, we got Sam from Reno.
Great name.
Sam.
Great name. Sam, how are you feeling?
Morning, this is Reno Sam.
Yes, sir. And I was at that game on Sunday. Amazing experience. For my first ever football game, NFL game ever. Amazing experience. The fans were actually pretty complimentary of all of us Detroiters that were in town. The one thing that I kind of agree with what the previous caller was saying about, hey, you know what, Dan Campbell said continuity is going to be hard. because you got a chance that you might lose one or both coordinators in the offseason. You got to still bring that hunger. I got a bone to pick with one player in particular, and this might be a hot take. You guys might not agree. Have at me. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That guy, you know, he started the hype with the blue ski masks, lost the game against Seattle. He's talking noise about Baker Mayfield getting Russell Gage's name wrong. Could have, you know, it's a soundbite that I thought was unnecessary. Did the same thing against Debo before this week. He's waving after halftime. It's a nonsense personal foul. I think that's the kind of guy that causes distractions, and he did not play well enough, in my opinion, to justify making that much noise and talking like that. And frankly, there's a reason that Brad Holmes selects out players like Penei Sewell and Jack Campbell, because they're all about that business. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson did not act like a guy who was about that business, and I think that's the kind of player you want to avoid coming up to free agency. Just my hot take. And I was a little. I could actually see him waving from my position in the stands. And when I saw that, I could tell my I'm getting hot right now. My 49ers fans that I was with, they were telling me, "Hey, you know what? Game over. We got this. We're about to come back right now." And to me, in my opinion, if you're trying to retain continuity, that's the kind of antics that, left unchecked, will take you a step back when you're trying to establish your Lions culture.
I see you. I feel you. I actually believe you, believe in you. But I also have this other philosophy. In the NFL, on defense, where you got a whole bunch of guys that are not good guys, you need some jerks on there. You need some guys that you don't like. You need some guys with some edge. You don't need 11 choir boys out there. There's got to be some pricks out there if you really want to succeed. Now, he did his stuff at the wrong time. What he needs, I think he still needs to keep his personality. He needs to keep that edge, but he's got to be smarter, because he's a vet now, not to do it in a big moment like that. And maybe he's so emotional that he's incapable of doing that, but it's something that he has to learn. But I like having jerks out there.
No, I think, and you're right. You need tone setters. You need, like, hey, Jalen Ramsey was the guy who's like, he's not known as a nice guy, but he got the job done when he was in LA. Like Deion Sanders, like the bet in corner is one of the toughest positions too, because it's so reactive, and you have to, like, be able to, even when you're getting beat on a play, you have to come back and be able to still bring some oomph on the next one. So I totally get that. I just think that that's something that they need to be cognizant of, because that's the kind of thing that will. It's when you're trying to. You know, we talk about Lions culture all this time. It's one thing to get just a little bit taste of what it's like when you're going up the mountain. Then once you get there and you get knocked down one peg, there could be an innate belief that, hey, okay, we've done that before. We got the formula. We'll do it again. And the worst thing that can happen is, with that type of attitude, there cannot be complacency. Especially when I fully expect that Ben Johnson's gone. I think there's a good chance that Aaron Glenn might also be gone. So you've got a lot of, like, technical things that you got to solidify in terms of the scheme. You've got, after this year, you're going to have to start extending a lot of those guys on those rookie contracts. So that's going to be expensive. So I think if they get one more year in this window, where before there's a lot of change of foot, they could do some damage right now. It's a matter of locking in this offseason.
But once again, that's where I have the belief this is a real organization. Yeah, you're right. That's going to be a challenge. And I think the window is 2 years, because a lot of these guys are still rookies or they're second-year guys. So how do you decide who to pay? How do you keep a cohesive locker room where you know you're going to have to let go of some people, and some people are going to chirp off in the media and say, hey, I want to be here, but the Lions didn't want me. So that's going to be a problem.
Yeah,
also.
You're going to get Jamal Williams again.
But so how does Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell handle that? That's going to be tough.
Yeah, no, and
I trust in Brad Holmes.
Yeah,
I trust in Brad Holmes. He's been doing it for 3 years.
Yeah, how could you not at this point? And Sam, you know what's funny? I'm not gonna give my.
His name is Reno Sam. Pay him some respect.
Yes, Reno
right,
Sam.
Come on now.
Flannel Sam to Reno Sam. Let's break bread. But honestly, I'm not gonna give my full thoughts on C.J. Gardner-Johnson, because I'm gonna do that on tomorrow's show. Because I will just say this: I could not agree with you more. That guy, I'll tell you what, that guy is not my favorite person right now. But you know what is my favorite? Because we're going to get to more phone calls when we get back. Thank you again, Sam. Guardian Alarm. Hey, yes, of course. If the Lions had Guardian Alarm, man, they might have actually won the Super Bowl. But it's a new year. Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts. Our professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. 24/7 professional monitoring. Call us anytime, day or night, and know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work and people have been proven to care. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT. That's 1-800-STAY-OUT. Guardian Alarm, your local security experts.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy? It's Planet Fitness. Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids, all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show live on the Woodward Sports Network. We are still taking your calls. So, Kool-Aid, let's not waste any time. Who do we have next?
You know what? We got Buck from Battle Creek. He says he's a veteran in this thing. He's 71 years old.
71 years old.
So he's seen the last championship.
Hey, yeah.
Battle Creek Buck.
Yes, Buck. How are you feeling today on the Tuesday following the NFC Championship game loss?
I'm recovering.
Yeah.
I'm recovering. It's been a wonderful season, though. Wonderful season. Let's not forget that. But I thought they kind of played us like Green Bay did. Took the first half off and then intensified intensified in the second half and kind of roughed guys up wherever they could here and there. And I think that's their scheme. So,
San Francisco. But you don't. Yes. I mean, you can say that, but you don't mean to get behind 24-7. When you're taking the first half off. I think we have to give the Lions a little bit more credit that they came out with a great game plan, great determination. They didn't feel the heat of the game. To them, it was just another game, and they came out and played like that. But then I think in the second half, San Francisco felt like their backs were to the wall. The Lions didn't knock them out. They didn't knock them out mentally, so they were able to come back on them. And the Lions helped too.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Right. I agree with you. I agree. But I've watched every one of these games, and they have this third quarter letdown where they just kind of disappear.
Yeah, no, that's
it's been happening all season long. So
that's
they got
to correct. The Lions have to correct.
Like I say, they need to have that shift into high gear and come right back over the top of that, and continue to score. And that's the way I felt about it anyway.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you have the perspective of it still being a great season, one of the best you've ever witnessed in your lifetime. So I'm glad you were able to enjoy that.
My God!
Yeah, No,
oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't tell you. You know, I ain't like St. Brown be able to name all the people that were picked before him. You know, but I went through so many seasons where we had no hope. You know, and now they gave us hope, which made it, you know, which makes it a little bit more painful where we're at today.
Yeah, but the best part is we know that this is a team that you would at least assume or think is going to have many more cracks at it, given their age, given the fact that we know how Brad Holmes drafts and the cap space that the Lions are going to have. Definitely appreciate that. Thank you so much for your call, Buck. Hopefully the Lions can finish the job next year, but I appreciate your perspective. Kool-Aid, who do we got?
Phone lines are open, man. People definitely hit that call-in numbers in the chat.
All right. So Buck was the last one. All right. No, cool. I appreciate that, guys, for calling in and being another part of the show, because it definitely adds something. We like to hear the voice of the people, and the third quarter just seems to be a theme at this point. And the Lions, it wasn't their first bad third quarter of the season, but they saved their worst one for the NFC Championship game. Unfortunately, everything that could go wrong most certainly did, and that's how.
But it also came against a team
sure
that was hungry, a team that's talented, a team that was on a mission. So that's what made it look worse. I mean, the Lions probably could have played this way against a number of other teams and gotten away with it. Maybe they would have won by 3 or won by a touchdown or something, but they could have gotten away with this. But San Francisco was like, we had that pain. We thought we should have gone to the Super Bowl last year. We didn't. This is our year. Now that the Lions are making it easier for us, now that the Lions have put us in this game, we're going to be the best team down the road.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're the 49ers, if you've been in this situation where they've lost NFC Championship games, where they've lost Super Bowls recently, there might have been some doubt creeping in when they were down 24-7 at halftime. But once the Lions opened the door, they're the type of team that is not going to let the Lions get away with all of those mistakes. I mean, you saw it. After the fourth down miss, 49ers score a touchdown. After the Gibbs fumble, 49ers score a touchdown. And then it was tied before you could even blink, before you could even get up to get a drink at that point. And Kool-Aid, did somebody else call in?
Yes, sir. Gary from Lexington, Kentucky.
Gary from Lexington, Kentucky. How are you feeling on this Tuesday following the NFC Championship loss on Sunday?
Well, I'm feeling fantastic.
Great.
Because I had different expectations than most. This year, I expected them to go to the playoffs and lose in the first round.
Ooh.
So by that standard, they exceeded expectations. So all of this, and if you think back, Sam Flannel, 8 weeks ago, nobody on this show or any of the pundits thought we were going to the Super Bowl.
Nope.
So to get that close, while disappointing, shouldn't be gloom and doom. But I'd like to tell Mr. Foster there that I watched the show late yesterday, and he caught a lot of flack for his stance on that field goal, and I'm 100% behind him. Because I think he was dead on, because there's no guarantee that Badgley makes it. So that's just something I wanted to toss out to him, and appreciated him for all the years of his writing on the Lions. And the other thing I'd just like to ask Mr. Foster is, who's going to replace Ben Johnson and AG?
I think one of them will be here, because there's only 2 openings left, and they're not going to both get those jobs. I don't know, but I think whoever's going to replace him might be on staff, like a Mark Brunell or something like that. The Lions have known for 2 years that Ben Johnson could be leaving. So if they're a real organization, like I say they are, they're grooming somebody on that staff. And if they feel that person's not ready, only then will they go outside and hire somebody else. But it could be Brunell or someone like that.
Yeah, I know Tanner Engstrand was somebody that has been talked about on the offensive side of the ball, but I think he's getting interviews for at other offensive coordinator positions for other NFL franchises. But yeah, Terry, you're right.
But why wouldn't he want to stay here?
I don't know. Maybe Ben Johnson's staying put. I don't think he is.
But maybe this is where Sheila Hamp has to be an owner again.
Yeah.
She said, how much are they offering you? $500,000? All right, here's $600,000.
Sure.
So what's up?
Yeah, maybe Tanner Engstrand just isn't ready, and whoever he goes to, he gets found out real quick. But yeah, Terry, you're right. Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. It's not like one's getting one job and one's getting the other.
Right.
I think Ben Johnson will probably get the Commander's job, but it hasn't been confirmed yet, as far as I know, at least. And Aaron Glenn, I've always thought, and this isn't meant to be a slight at Aaron Glenn, that he needs one more year as the defensive coordinator. I would like to see him operate a defense with more talent and actually operate a truly good defense instead of one that played well enough at times but was also exposed at times. So, yeah, no, we're talking about coordinators and replacing.
And I think in today's new NFL, that if you're going to hire a coordinator, it should be an offensive coordinator.
I could not agree more. I mean, you've seen all of the successes with young, innovative offensive minds. I don't want to go through them all because I could make a list of like 6 or 7 deep. But thank you so much for the call, Gary. Thank you for your continued support.
You bet.
And I hope,
have a good day.
Yep, you have a good day as
All
well.
right.
And hopefully the Lions loss
You know what?
stings
The only
less.
thing, I'm sorry that Gary wasn't from Gary, Indiana, because then he'd be Gary.
Gary. Kool-Aid, I heard you talking. So
man. Look, the people called in. We got Johnny in Willis, Michigan.
Johnny in Willis, Michigan. How's it going, Johnny? How's it going?
Hey, Brohammer.
Hey,
I was born and raised in Michigan. I have no idea where Willis is.
I'm south of Ann Arbor, man. It's east of Saline, out in the country.
Oh, see, but that's still close enough. I should know that. I should have heard that.
Yeah, if you know Bonehead's Barbecue, it's over in Willis. That's fantastic.
Next time I'm need some Bonehead, I'm there.
It's awesome, man. But well, first of all, I said I would call in after the Michigan game, but you hadn't had the phone lines open. I want to congratulate Sam Flannel on the Natty.
Oh, thank you.
I said that Alabama was going to blow them out, and I was completely wrong with that. But I'm a Georgia Bulldog, so you're lucky we got beat. But anyway,
that's fair.
I just actually want to just say, because I've been watching all this stuff on national pundits talking crap, Colin Cowturd talking crap about Dan, you know, and Terry, you said it yesterday, you know, about the kicking the field goals and going for it and having Dan's back on that. And I mean, I'm so pissed off hearing these people talking shit about Dan and seeing what we've gone from to where we are now. And it's like, we overachieved this year. I mean, I think everybody can say that everybody was thinking, win the division, win a playoff game, successful season. And then once expectations started to grow, now everybody's like, oh, fuck Dan, fire him. You know, he went for it on 4th down, but that's what got us there. And
I haven't heard anyone say fire him. I've heard people say he's
a
doofus.
Well, it was. And then you got radio pundits saying same old Lions, and I've seen YouTube clickbait saying SOL. I'm like, man, whatever, man. I mean, these people are pissing me off. But it's like giving Brad another chance at a draft, 4 picks in the top 3 rounds. He's going to address the corner. He's going to get an edge guy. He's going to fix the defense. And once that's fixed, with our offense the way it's set up, whether Ben's gone or not, it doesn't matter. They're going to get somebody else in there that's going to be just as good. He'll be the next head coaching candidate in the next 3 years. And we're going to be freaking rocking. I mean, like Michigan, even like last year where they got blown out by TCU, they come back the next year and win the freaking Natty, you know. So it's a growing process with this young team. And we're built for 5 years of success. I mean, we're going to be here for, I'm not going to say we're going to be a Patriots dynasty type situation, but we're going to be like a Niners team, you know, that's been in the NFC Championship for the 4 or 5 years. And that's the way it's built. And I have complete faith in Brad and Dan and Sheila. And this is the first time, like you, Terry, you've been around some teams, man, that me being a fan, I've always felt like I've been more pissed off when they lost than the players were. And this is the first time ever in my watching the Lions for 47 years, that I've seen the players actually more pissed off or just as upset as I am when they lose. And that's a different culture. I mean,
you know what? I saw the exact same thing, because over the years, when I see the Lions, and I said, damn, the fan base is a lot more emotional about this loss than the players. Players is gonna give a damn. So I got paid. Let me.
We got our.
Oh, you know what they used to do? You know, every November when you go in that locker room, you know what you saw? Moving boxes, because we ready to go home. And I just
playing the music and shit. And okay, let's go. Where are we going on vacation? It's over. You know, these guys actually give a shit, and I actually see it. I feel it. Even with Stafford days, every postseason, every post-game interview is the same shit every time. Oh, we just got to get better. I got to be better. I got to be better. With Jared, you actually can see the emotion in them when they lose. You can see the emotion in these guys, man, and it's just different. And I can't be more proud of them. I wanted to go to freaking Allen Park after the game and sit out there and wait for them to come back and just be like, hey, because this is different, man, and it's going to be different for years as long as we have Brad and Dan and Sheila letting them do what they need to do and not handcuffing them. This is a different team, man, and it's you know, the bandwagon people that's been on the sidelines forever, you know, they're going to talk their crap, but the ones that are diehard, that's been there through it all, like you, Terry, like me, like a lot of the old timers, freaking watching them suck, but still loving them. This is different, and I just like I saw a kid at the playoff game. I'm a season ticket holder, but I seen these kids, man. They were like 12 years old, and I was like, dude, I was actually 3 years older than you the last time there was a playoff game. You know, I said, y'all are so lucky because you're gonna be 15, 17, and have a good team to cheer for. You know, unlike me, but I still loved them. I mean, I lived in Georgia, man, and I flew up for every freaking game for 3 years with my season ticket.
That's hard. that's hardcore, Johnny.
Yeah.
I think I remember you saying that on a previous call.
Yeah.
That's dedication.
Yes, I am happiest. I'm happiest for myself for the season, obviously, because I'm a fan as well. But somebody like you, I'm definitely happy for as well. Guys who have suffered for a lot longer than myself.
I'll be honest, I don't understand. Right, particularly older people stuck with the Lions. Because they had decades of pain. The young guys, I understand, because y'all don't know any better.
Yeah.
You just say, okay, I'm 22. They've been bad a little bit. But why stick with a team who doesn't care about you, who does the opposite of what you want to do, and doesn't win anything? I commended you guys for sticking with them, because I sure would not have.
I mean, Johnny, but you were rewarded. You were rewarded in kind, though.
Like, in how many Lions fans, honestly, or people that's from Michigan, and I grew up in Plymouth. I mean, I was military, and that's what took me to Savannah. But how many Lions fans, like, at the end of the year in the playoffs, when they were kicked out or they barely missed it, and then they ended up cheering for Tom because he played at Michigan?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that's every Lions fan. They're like, everybody cheer for Tom because it was like that was our way of celebrating some type of postseason success.
Yep.
But now we have something similar to what the Patriots built. And as far as CJ, I mean, I totally agree with y'all, man. I mean, I agree with Terry, but even like the Patriots dynasties, they always had some chippy guys, man. Like Aqib Talib. He was a freaking kind of like a Chauncey, you know? We need a guy like that on our defense. Like Terry said, we need some guys that carries a freaking chip on their shoulder, that talks crap, that gets under people's skin. Because all of these great teams has somebody that pushes the edge. And now, granted, some of the Chauncey's, antics I didn't really like, but we do need a guy. But I think Kirby's going to fill that role because Kirby's got a chip on his shoulder, man. I mean, Kirby talks crap. Kirby's got a little edge on him. He's our future Chauncey, but not that won't go over the edge with it. So.
Yeah, Johnny, thank you so much for the call, man. You are always welcome. And we're going to do one more break and come back to maybe a call or two. But first, I got to tell you about Dispo. Experience Dispo Dispensary, a team that curates an unbelievable atmosphere. Dispo is now giving out 2 tickets plus hotel and flight accommodations to this year's big game in Vegas. Go on Dispo's Instagram page at dispo.michigan and follow directions on the pinned post or scan the QR code and it will take you there. Let's get you sports fans to Vegas. Dispo Dispensary, disposhops.com, your local cannabis plug.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy? It's Planet Fitness. Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
Come to Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles, and with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
Dreaming of a new home but feeling the financial pinch? Mark White and Associates, your trusted real estate experts, are here to help. Mark White and his team will pay up to $5,000 of your closing costs. That's right, I said $5,000. Call Mark White and Associates today at 248-290-8242. Visit them at markwhitesells.com. Again, call Mark White today at 248-290-8242 to make your dreams come true. Before we get to our last caller of the day, I just want to announce the winner of the jersey and catering giveaway, sponsored by Woodward Sports and Soroki's. The winner is Braylon Judge. So congratulations.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Braylon Edwards. I was like, what the hell's going on around here?
Hey, you have a hell of a first name, and maybe that played some role in you winning. I'm just kidding, of course. But yeah, Braylon, we will be getting in contact with you soon, and congratulations so much for the victory, for the win, and I hope you enjoy the prize. Kool-Aid, let's get to one more call because we are over time, but I hate to leave anyone hanging.
Yeah, we have Chase from Dearborn.
Chase from Dearborn. How are you feeling on this Tuesday?
Hey, we're feeling all right, man. We're getting over the loss on Sunday, so doing all right. Thanks for taking the call a little bit over time.
Hey, my pleasure. What's on your mind?
I mean, just a couple days out from the game, watched a favorite movie of mine, Remember the Titans. I feel like Ed Henry, coach of Marshall, it's like seeing how he handles that loss to Denzel in the state championship game. No better way to take a loss on a good season from a team like Detroit. You know, obviously not the outcome we want, but, you know, no one should hang their head. Shouldn't be like thinking about this as like a win either. I don't think it's like there's any moral victory. Obviously we won the playoff game, but, you know, there's only one winner and 31 losers each season. You know, getting this much closer to the finish line doesn't make the bitterness of defeat any better, but we'll hopefully see some nice adjustments in the off season. I'd really like Ben Johnson to stick around. I'm hoping, you know, blowing that second half lead will be enough of a chip on his shoulder to keep him out of DC and in Detroit.
Yeah, no,
I don't think he really wants the DC job. I think he'll take it, but I don't think that's his first choice.
Probably not. I mean, I probably wouldn't want the DC job as my first choice, but they do have a high draft pick. They do have cap space, but yeah, at some point though, Ben Johnson's going to take a head coaching job because he's one of the best candidates, in my opinion, at least in the entire NFL. And as far as I appreciate you watching Remember the Titans to ease the pain a little bit, to paraphrase Remember the Titans, the only way we'd be seeing Kyle Shanahan is in the NFC Championship game, kind of like the only way we'll be seeing Ed Henry is in the state finals. So that's not a bad movie to drown your sorrows in. Thank you so much, Chase, and thank you for holding on the line because I know it was a while and we are over time. But thank you so much again, and thank all of you, everybody in the chat, for participating today and for joining in. It means a lot to all of us, particularly with the I would say changes being made at Woodward Sports. We're all still here. We're all still trying to give you the best show every single day. I know JB and Kool-Aid are two of the hardest working guys in the building. And Terry Foster, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you with me the last couple of days. And it's been a pleasure to enjoy all of this with you, even when we had to cry it out a little bit. So for myself, Flannel Sam, for Terry Foster, thank you Kool-Aid.
Amazing job.
Thank you, JB and Kool-Aid. That means a lot coming from you guys. An amazing job from you guys as well. We will see you tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And by the way, enjoy all of the rest of the programming that Woodward Sports has to offer, including Big D Energy from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, starting out, going all the way until Woodward Nights, featuring our very own Detroit Kool-Aid tonight. So you're definitely going to want to tune into that. We will see all of you guys tomorrow. Peace.